And for a prime example of how women of color get treated in leadership positions, I say look no further than Amherst Public Schools.
Middle school in ultra-liberal Massachusetts town is convulsed by chaos after white parents accuse Black and Hispanic Christian staffers of transphobia, only for their targets to hit back and call them racist. So what we're going to see here, of course, is that tete-a-tete, that reversal, right? The hoisted on your own petard between the different diverse groups the left loves to tout. Tensions have erupted in part due to the fact that parents of transgender kids who complained are white, while the staff accused of discriminating against them are Black or Hispanic. And of course, they've hit back with claims by insisting that they're not bigoted and said that their accusers are in fact racist, an allegation that strikes deep fear in the hearts of progressive parents, right? Because who in the world wants to be called that? So jumping more into the story, we have Superintendent Mike Morris, who was recently hired apparently after there was some scandal of racism in this small, mostly white town that is apparently very affluent over there in Massachusetts. So Morris, off the back of a series of racism scandals in the district, which had been aggravated by his hiring as a white man, because there's nothing worse you can do, right? So when he took the role, Morris was keen to restore some faith and introduced a new administrative position, Assistant Superintendent of Diversity, Equity, and Human Resources, all right? And guess who he hired? It was Doreen Cunningham, all right? A woman of color, a strong woman of color. And the DEI-focused position aligned with Morris's view that improving racial diversity among Amherst faculty was a civil rights issue for our kids, and he selected Cunningham for that role. However, little did he know she was a closeted Christian and would hire the wrong type of diverse people. And a couple of the people in question who were hired were Hector Santos and Delinda Dykes, all right? So these diverse background teachers were hired to come into the district to, of course, increase the numbers. And down here you'll notice that Cunningham was actually very successful in increasing those numbers from 20 to 34% by 2023. So she met her goals. She did exactly what DEI was supposed to do. However, with those Christian teachers, we've got some problems. Santos was accused of performing conversion therapy, while Dykes is said to have prayed against an LGBT demon that wants to confuse our children. And she also handed out chocolate crucifixes. The terror. At the time the allegations surfaced, attorney Ryan McLean, who was representing them both, said they didn't do anything wrong and described them as faithful Bible-believing Christians. Shortly after the article was published, the mother of one of the trans students requested a Title IX investigation that the law used to prevent discrimination within education. As a result, Hector Santos, who is Latino, and Delinda Dykes, who is Black, were both placed on leave. Both have denied accusations against them and said they have worked with other LGBTQ plus students without an issue. Apparently just don't include them in your prayer circles and definitely do not give them chocolate crucifixes. Now, of course, it does not all just stop there. Not only are the teachers accused of, taking on the blasphemous position of going against the LGBTQ plus movement, it also bled over into the student population. So you have students now who are going to be bullying these LGBTQ plus peers. And over here we can see many of the students accused of bullying LGBT students were Hispanic or Black. Instances of bullying of LGBT students were often addressed with restorative justice, a practice common in progressive school districts. But in one case, a conservative Hispanic student told the LGBT student they only believed there were two genders. The LGBT student's father later demanded the Hispanic student have zero contact with his child. So of course, there's two things here. First, bullying apparently is constituted by simply saying, I don't believe there's more than two genders. That's bad, apparently. You can't say that, right? Discrimination right there. And second, I love that they talk about restorative justice. This is the common practice that when a student does something wrong, right, you don't suspend them, you don't expel them, and if it's really bad, you definitely do not report it to police. Instead, you try to keep it all in-house. Now, in this case, in my opinion, totally appropriate. But normally the whole restorative justice thing is a way of shielding students from diverse backgrounds from receiving consequences. And apparently these minority students in this mostly predominantly white area are Christian, and those beliefs as Christians are apparently trickling down into their reactions to fellow students in the school district, and therefore results in them being accused of bullying. So all of that, of course, is totally delicious. I love the one-upsmanship. You come after me for discriminating against LGBTQ plus people, I'm going to go after you for being racist. And of course, the whole situation just devolves. And there's a wonderful quote here from Ben Harrington, who is a committee member at the school, and he's actually talking about Michael Morris, the superintendent. And he's saying, the sense I got was that once Mike realized that he didn't have the right person, he didn't want to be perceived as being racist for dealing with her or having her removed, Harrington said, which, if we're being honest, is actually kind of a racist viewpoint. So yes, he didn't hire the right type of diverse person, right? He hired somebody with possibly a Christian moral background, and that doesn't mix well with today's modern liberal education. So, of course, you can't just get rid of them, because then, of course, they'll cry racism, and there's nothing worse, of course, you can do to a leftist. It doesn't just stop here. There's also the school board meeting that had some interesting speakers as well.
And if I'll make my last point, we always talk about how people of color, black women, women of color, and the glass ceiling, and how they're treated when they're in leadership positions. And if we look around this room, almost everybody is white in this room. So you guys don't know what it's like to be a person of color in a leadership position. And for a prime example of how women of color get treated in leadership positions, I say look no further than Amherst Public Schools.
So that was actually the son of Doreen Cunningham, and he's saying, hey, we've actually achieved the goals that the superintendent set out. We had those diversity hires. You just didn't like the results. And then, of course, going after them saying, yeah, if you want to see how women of color are treated, look no further than Amherst School District. Because clearly this is what happens when you go against the grain. I suppose minorities have now been replaced by the LGBTQ plus community on the hierarchy of needs. So therefore, they're gone. Get out of there. But now let's hear from some of these more enlightened individuals.
I'm here as a former ARPS parent tonight. I'm also want to preface this by saying I am a former LGBTQ plus youth. I survived that experience, which is not true of all of us. We lose a lot of queer youth to environments like what's happening here in this town right now.
I come to you as an openly queer, femme-presenting, non-binary former school committee, talking to some of my former colleagues.
My name is MJ Schwartz. I'm a parent and step-parent, a former crisis counselor for an LGBTQ plus youth hotline, and I'm a non-binary transgender adult who survived childhood and adolescent religious trauma, merciless bullying by my peers, and the adults who were supposed to protect me and did not.
So yes, when the left collides, hilarity ensues, and I, of course, am there to lap up all the tears. It is truly hilarious. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and as usual, stay safe out there, people, because they're coming after you.